ago during the time, 95, during the time of the Million Man March. I did a poem entitled, long dramatic poem entitled The Million Man March.
Right.
And people loved it, and lots of people bought it. But a friend of mine told me that there were people in office buildings downtown who were Xeroxing copies of my poem and placing it all over the building.
Right.
If I wanted to, what could I have done
You could have sued. That's the question. You don't know who the originator of the photocopying was and who was actually distributing your work. But if you could identify who the infringer was, then you can certainly sue the infringer for infringement. The other thing, when you talk about copyright infringement, you talk about, well, how much money is at stake here? Because if it was just one poem and you hadn't commercially exploited the poem, then you wouldn't be able to determine the level of damages, or be able to measure the amount of damages that you suffered as a result of the infringement on your work. So you really have to look at that situation. McDonald's, for instance, they are a highly litigious corporation, because when you think about McDonald's and any use of the word Mc in anything, McDonald's has a team of lawyers that they will sick on you and protect their intellectual property, again, as they should. So for small time copyright owners, and I'll say that chances are you won't sue. I was involved in a copyright infringement matter several years ago, and I don't do a lot of litigation. I try to keep my clients away from litigation. I like to do preventive medicine, if you will.
Yes.
But I had a situation where I had a client that created this character, and they owned the character, and the person who they brought in to assist them in the development of this character, just to do some preliminary sketches, sued them for infringement. And it was so ludicrous, but they had to defend that lawsuit. And they probably could have avoided this lawsuit in the beginning whenever they hired this person, that they entered into a written document, a written contract with this person, saying that any work that you do for us in conjunction with the creativity that we've already done here, it's going to be work for hire, and that's another area of copyright law.
What does that mean?
Work for hire basically means that you hire somebody to do something for you, commission somebody to do a particular thing for you.
You have to have it in writing.
You absolutely have to have it in writing, because the law basically says if it's not in writing, then the presumption is that the person creating the work is actually the owner. So if you hired somebody, you paid the person to do something for you, then you've got to put it in writing, and so that you protect your rights. And part of the writing should say that this person releases any right, title, and interest that they may have in that property to you as the person who's commissioned that work.
That's so very important.
It's absolutely important.
Oftentimes we take things like that for granted. Well, I paid him to do it, he did it.
Yeah, it's a handshake. It's a gentleman's, it's a handshake deal, and I caution this.
You can't copyright a handshake.
No, you can't do that, but you certainly can. Again, the way you consummate that deal and work for hire is that you have a writing, and it could be as simple as a one-page document, but at least have something where you're setting out the terms and conditions between the parties, so that you protect your work. Is what you do.
That's so very important, I think, to young people also watching this program, because young people, we oftentimes, just do things,
Yeah.
And
you get with your friend or your buddy, and you sit around and you start creating things. Well, you have a joint authorship situation there. If one of the friends decides they want to commercially exploit that work, then they are entitled to share whatever monetary compensation that they get with the other people who participated in that work. And that especially happens a lot when you have music involved, especially people sort of, some person comes with one chord and somebody else has another chord. But that's a collaborate, that's a joint work is what it is, and you absolutely have to make sure that you understand what it is that you're doing when you're in that kind of setting. Absolutely.
For people who'd like to get in touch with you, how can we